Let's head for Bloomington, Minnesota. We're going to get there in a hurry with the Rocketman. In Northfield, a snowy forecast for this guy every day of the week. And landmarks of the Midwest. Water towers tell their story, but first, out and about we go to Bloomington, Minnesota, where the Vikings became legendary on the football field, where the Twins did the same for over 20 years, and yes, where the legendary Kai Michaelson has lived for longer than that. Kai Michaelson, you say? Who's that? Well, Kai Michelson's a guy known as the Rocketman for longer than baseball great Roger Clemens.
This is a Harley Davidson that's powered by two 1,500-pound thrust rocket motors. I built it for a group of people up in Montreal, Canada. The guy was called the Human Fly. He actually jumped over 26 buses in 1978 with this bike.
Going back to his childhood, Kai was born in Red Wing, Minnesota, but calls Zumbrota his hometown. Kai's always been electronically inclined. Why, when he was just a fourth grader, he built a radio. And from there, it just took off.
From then on, I built an actual diving helmet that took a hot water heater and cut it off, put it on my shoulders, put a face mask, tire pump, went over Lake Nokomis, and went diving with it. And I remember the park police came over there and they said, "Is this a piece of approved equipment?" I said, "Yeah, I approved it." And needless to say, they took it away from me.
In fifth grade, Kai invented a hot dog zapper. The kid was a genius.
You just stick a hot dog in there between the two nails and plug it in, and it shoots 110 volts through it. 20 seconds later, you got a barbecued hot dog. How's that sound?
But the kid was just getting warmed up. Kai's love of the wild and wacky led him to an unbelievable trip to the fast track. Why, he's built more rocket machines than the folks at NASA. There's the rocket-powered go-kart.
Now this go-kart, what's the purpose of this one? How fast are you going to go in this thing?
Well, actually, this kart will go a lot faster than you'd ever want to go.
Well, you had one of these years ago, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we built a go-kart that was powered by hydrogen peroxide years ago that went 248 miles an hour at Twin Cities Speedway.
Land speed records were set on the rocket-powered dragster Kai built back in the 70s.
This thing will gobble up 28 gallons of fuel in 4 seconds. I kind of look at this as art. I kind of call it rocket art because it's an extension of me, what I can do with my hands.
If you're a snowmobile lover, how's this one for size?
Yeah, this is a hydrogen peroxide powered snowmobile that has 1,500 pounds of thrust. That's equivalent to 3,000 horsepower. If you want to go about 285 miles an hour, this is the way to do it.
Something I've always wanted to do in a snowmobile. Oh, thing of beauty.
Or when the time comes, you can now head quickly to the nursing home in your hydrogen peroxide-powered wheelchair.
And you've had this going how fast?
Pretty close to 80. Pretty shaky, though.
In a wheelchair,
Yeah.
80 miles an hour. I love
You
it.
don't even want to think about turning the wheel because you will be flipping it.
Yes, nearly every land speed record has at one time or another been owned by Bloomington, Minnesota's Kai the Rocketman Michaelson.
Back in the 70s, we decided to put together a rocket car. We went to the Bonneville Salt Flats. We set the 8th mile, the quarter mile, the 500 meter, the kilometer record. Then we put a woman in the car, Kitty O'Neill, that went out and broke records, and also Paula Murphy broke records. All told, we ended up setting 72 state, national, and international speed records with the rocket-powered vehicles that I built.
This is from October
This
Sky.
is from October Sky, yeah. This is the actual rocket that flew in October Sky. It's one of the neatest movies that you'll ever see.
His rocketry led Kai to Hollywood, where he made more blow-em-up movies than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There's Dar Robinson right there, Kathy Lee Crosby and me. We did a show called The Ultimate Stuntman with Dar Robinson. I worked on like 17 segments of That's Incredible.
Kai became close friends with the late legendary stuntman Dar Robinson. To this day, Michaelson pushes on in memory of Robinson, who was accidentally killed while on a movie shoot.
I would say 60, 70, I don't know, maybe 80% of the equipment they use today in the stunt world started right out in the shop working with Dar. We developed a lot. So we're talking about the 70s stuff, and we brought that to the business. And there's not an action film that's out there now where you can't see a piece of our equipment that's being used.
Kai and Dar Robinson teamed up on several stunts that bordered on Mission Impossible. And Kai isn't fond of being compared to an Evel Knievel. Kai is a stuntman. Knievel is a daredevil.
In the stunt business, we engineer everything well. In fact, all the stunts that we've done through the years, if it failed, you wouldn't get hurt, you get killed. And they're very well engineered stunts. Where a stuntman, or I should say a daredevil, would go out and do something, you know, basically he closes his eyes and screams "Bonsai," you know, and whatever comes out, comes out.
So if he opens his eyes and he's still alive.
And if he opens his eyes and he's still alive, he did good.
In those days, Kai had Hollywood eating out of his hand. There wasn't a soul from the silver screen he didn't know. But today, Kai still prefers to talk about a picture from his Minnesota roots.
This one I was 15 years old.
Here?
Yeah, that's my first race car. It was a 32 Ford 3-window coupe. I paid $13 for it.
Ah.
Can you believe that?
Today it's worth at least 20 bucks.
Well, 20 bucks. Drive about 45,000. Yeah, they get a lot of money for them now.
He's gone full circle, creating, inventing, building, and now he's collecting. His hunger for knowledge in space has landed Kai some 275 artifacts for his space collection. And we're talking artifacts from Apollo missions and real live astronauts. If you find the times and the life of Kai Michaelson a bit daunting, consider this. He accomplished all of this with only a 9th grade education. He had a severe learning disability that wasn't discovered until later in life.
You know, I was dyslexic, so back in the 50s, they just didn't know what that was, and they couldn't understand why I had such a tough time learning. So I dropped out of school at a very young age, and then later on I went on to go to a vocational school, and I learned how to weld there and do machine work. So I took those talents back to my shop here.
And today, the Rocketman tradition continues.
And then we're going to drill a hole right through there, buddy, and put a spacer on both sides, and then that's going to hold the master cylinder in.
Ah, yes, this is what they mean by on-the-job experience. And this little 4-year-old Michelson's already got a jump start on his dad with a rocket-powered tricycle.
I named him Buddy Rocketman Michaelson, and I truly hope that he'll follow my footsteps and actually be an astronaut, because that was my dream, you know, from the 60s, was to become an astronaut. But, you know, because I didn't have the education, I wasn't capable of that.
Yes, one giant step by 2 Minnesotans, Rocketman Sr. and Rocketman Jr.